Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year should be a special schus for Simcha ben Nechagittel, Shmuel Alexander ben Nechagittel, or for us for David Henach Mordechai ben Frida Simcha, and Sarah Leah Bas Rivka and Rav Yosef ben Chana. We're going to be learning Maimer Gimel Mir Teshem and the Pachad Yitzchak on Shabbos. It says in the pasuk, "Uvayom Simchaschem v'Rosh Chodshechem v'Tikatim Chatzotzes Al Osechem Al Zivchei Shalmechem." And on your day of your Simcha and your Moed and on Rosh Chodesh, and you should blow Chatzotzros, trumpets, on your Olos, on your Korbanos, and Zivchei Shlamim. The Sifri says of Yom Simchaschem, Elo HaShabbosos. So your days of joy, your days of happiness are referring to Shabbos. So we see from this that we have a new description, new name for Shabbos. And that is B'Yom Simchaschem. Yom Simchaschem is a kinui, is like a nickname for Shabbos. It's not the real name of Shabbos, but that's between Shabbos and Yom Tov. It's explicit that on Shabbos we have a mitzvah of Oneg, and on Yom Tov we have a mitzvah of Simcha. So when you talk about Simcha on Shabbos, it's not the real name of Shabbos, the proper name of Shabbos, because that's the day of Oneg, Koratzah Shabbos Oneg. But rather it's a day of Simcha. So we have to understand why Dafka in this parsha, in the midst of Tkiyas Chatzotzros, we have Shabbos that's mentioned in the context of Yom Simchaschem. So in order to understand why Dafka in this parasha of Mitzvah Tkiyas Chatzotzros, we have Shabbos being called the Yom Simchaschem, we will first understand the difference between V'samachta b'chagecha and Uv'yom Simchaschem. And we start open this sugya with the words of our rabbis in the pasuk Vayikadesh also, in the parasha of Vayichulu. Rashi explains Shekitcho Baman Shlo Yorad b'Shabbos, that he was Mekadesh Shabbos with Man Hashem because the Man didn't fall down on Shabbos. That's the Ramban and Rashi, that it's not mashma that the pasuk is talking about the future. So why you say that this pasuk in Parashas Bereishis is talking about the Man? So to answer the Ramban, the Maharal writes that it doesn't mean that the pasuk is talking about the future, because bivadai Kiddush Shabbat Pa'al Miyad, the Kiddush of Shabbos is immediate, but rather the fact that there was no man on Shabbos is a raya for this Kiddush, a raya that Shabbos is holy. So the etzem musag of a raya is a tema. Do we need a raya? The pasuk needs a raya that Shabbos is holy. It says Vayikadesh. So what do we need a raya that Shabbos is holy? Vayikadesh means that it's holy. We don't need proofs for it. So the sheet of the Ramban is that Vayikadesh is also on Shabbos, is that Shabbos has an Neshama Yisera. So we want to explain this Shita according to our understanding in these matters. So a lot of times you have the same word for Kodesh and Chol, which can be very confusing. We think that the word used in the Chol context means the same as the word used in the Kodesh context. And that's a big mistake. So here's an example of that. Schar. Schar is in the world of Kodesh and in the world of Chol. A worker receives schar, Peulaso, and a tzaddik receives schar for his mitzvahs. So since this word has a dual meaning, one b'Kodesh and one b'Chol, so there's also an irbuv tziyurim, there's also this mixed up picture in the world of schar mitzvah, because the musig of schar in the world of chol doesn't at all relate to the etzem chefza of schar, that anything in this world could be used for schar. Any chefza in this world, any object in this world can be used for schar, for reward. Schar is just a specific way where there is a taking and a giving. And when we say that a worker receives schar for his work, what this means is that a specific item came into his hand as matan schar, in such a way that the essence of this object that's given b'torah schar also has existence without being schar. It could also be used for other things. It just happens to be used in this context as schar, as his reward. So since we use the word schar, both for schar pe'ula, for reward for work, and for reward for doing a mitzvah, we think it's the same thing when it comes to schar mitzvah. Schar mitzvah is that in the upper worlds, we have all these great pleasures that are used to give schar. But the truth of the matter is that this picture of the metzius of schar mitzvah is a perversion of reality. And we have to know that if we had a specific word, a special word for schar mitzvah, so then we would not come to this perversion of reality, because the truth of the matter is that all of those pleasures that are used b'taras chevtza shel schar mitzvah, that are used as a reward for a mitzvah, have no kiyum at all shelo b'taras schar mitzvah. They don't exist outside of schar mitzvah. If I give somebody $100 for working for me, in order because he worked for me, so I can use that $100 to give to him, and I can also use that $100 to buy myself dinner, and I can use the $100 for a lot of different things. So it exists outside of the schar. Schar mitzvah, people think is the same thing, that we have this great feast up there, and whoever gets enough points down here gets to eat the great feast up there. No, schar doesn't exist outside of the mitzvah. Schar mitzvah is a new creation of pleasure that have no kiyum outside of the world of schar. It's not just like, it exists outside of schar. It only exists because of the mitzvah. That is their essence. And if you take from them the essence of schar, then they go back to nothingness. The concept of schar in chol is just something that you obtain. It could be, like we said, money. So you get paid money, which has existence outside of the schar. But there's no special essence of schar. Whereas schar mitzvah, the essence is the mitzvah itself. It's only created by the mitzvah. It doesn't have existence outside of the mitzvah that you did. So the metzius of all the worlds went from ayin to yesh during the sheshis and bereshis. The whole metzius came during that time, and every day in that special metzius was created. So what's the day in which the metzius of schar mitzvah was created? So the answer is that since schar mitzvah is a special metzius, so it has to have a special yetzira. So the Meshech Sheshis Bereshis, we don't find a creation that relates to this essence of schar mitzvah. This is exactly what we're saying, that this special essence that we call schar mitzvah was not created during the Sheshis Bereshis and was not brought into existence until the seventh day, until Shabbos. And the creation of this special existence of schar mitzvah is explicated in the Torah with the words of Vayikadesh Oso, because the mashmos of this kiddush is the creation of all of those pleasures, that their existence is in essence schar mitzvah, the creation of all the worlds. The creation of this schar mitzvah is the involvement of chol in relationship to kodesh. In other words, the worlds are chol vis-a-vis the schar, which is kodesh, and therefore the bria of this metzius of schar mitzvah is kadosh. So just like the isbei chol in matters, iskei chol in matters, secular matters, pleasures are broken up in accordance with those senses that receive the pleasure. For example, if it's music, if it's sound, it's the ear. If it's something you can see, it's the eye. So too, the pleasures of schar mitzvah need a kli kibul. They need some sort of receptacle in order to enjoy these pleasures. What is the name of this receptacle? That's the neshama yisera. In other words, even though the klalius of the metzius of the neshama was revealed on the sixth day, as it says in the pasuk, nevertheless, the ability to receive the pleasure of schar mitzvah was only revealed on the seventh day, because there's no place for the revelation of this ability, this capacity to receive pleasure, as long as the pleasure hasn't come from nothingness to somethingness. And that's exactly what the Ramban is saying, that Vayikadesh also is the creation of the Neshama Yisera. The sanctity of Shabbos is the extra soul, which is the capacity to receive all of the pleasures. And when are these pleasures created? Shabbos. So Shabbos is the day of Schar. Shabbos is the day of Neshama Yisera, when we have the capacity to enjoy this Schar. Rashi Maseches Beitz explains that Neshama Yisera is the Koach Lechol V'Lishtos, which is the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. But there's a special light here in the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. The mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, Batzmiyusa, is Shaykh to Schar mitzvahs. In other words, while in the general relationship of mitzvahs and Schar, the mitzvah of today engenders the Schar of tomorrow, in the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, the relationship is just the opposite. The Schar of tomorrow generates the mitzvah of today, and therefore the other mitzvahs don't need a Neshama Yisera. In contrast, the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos receives its sustenance from the table of the Neshama Yisera, because the Neshama Yisera, the Schar of tomorrow, of Shabbos, is moli the mitzvah of today, of Oneg Shabbos, of Neshama Yisera, of this ability to eat and drink and enjoy Shabbos. And that's engendered by the Shabbos of the future. The Gemara says that a Ben Noach Shabbos Chayav Misa. The Rambam is mamed this halacha, and a Ben Noach was mechadish dos la'atzmo, a Ben Noach who creates his own religion. And this requires explanation, because if the Indian here is chidush das, why does the Gemara talk about resting on Shabbos? The Gemara says Ben Noach Shabbos Chayav Misa. The Rambam says that he created his own religion. But if it's just creating your own religion, then why Shvitzas Shabbos? So that's exactly what we're saying, because Shvitzas Shabbos is the tziyur klali of schar kiyum hadas. Shvitzas Shabbos is the general picture of the reward for fulfilling the religion. Memela, the specific mitzvah that is mostly related to the inyan of Chidush Hadas is Shvitzas HaShabbos. Because Shvitzas HaShabbos, that's the schar of Kiyum Hadas. Remember, Shabbos is the day of Oneg. Shabbos is the day that the future Oneg of Yom Shkulo Shabbos creates our Oneg Shabbos today. Shabbos relates to pleasure. And since Shabbos relates to the pleasure of the future, so the tziyur of creating a new religion is making up your own Shabbos. That's Chidush Hadas, resting on Shabbos. When a person rests on Shabbos, this guy is not allowed to rest on Shabbos. When he rests on Shabbos, it's like a new religion, because the whole religion really revolves around Shabbos, because our mitzvahs are creating schar, and schar only exists within the framework of Shabbos. Shvitzas Shabbos, the pasuk says, Kivo Shabbos mikol malachto. And the Gemara explains that there's an emphasis here that the Shvisa was mikol malachto. So from the Bria Ve'elach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was machadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishis. And that's the emphasis, that the Shvisa is mikol malachto. In other words, not only was the Shvisa from the malacha of the creation of the world, but the Shvisa includes within it also the Shvisa from the malacha of Chidush Ma'aseh Bereshis, not only from the malacha of its habits Shel HaBriya, but being Mechadish the Briya. And for us, this requires a perush, that Shvitzas Shabbos, the resting on Shabbos from the work of creating the world, is understood by us, is conceived by us with the word Vayechulu, that on Shabbos there was no mimer, that would create new categories of existence. So that we get. But how is it possible that there's Shvisa Mimeleches Chidush Ma'aseh Bereishis? We see that this Malach of Chidush Ma'aseh Bereishis never stops for 1 second, whether it's weekday or Shabbos. So what's the pshat? How is it possible to say that on Shabbos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not Mechadish Ma'aseh Bereishis? If Adi is Mechadish Ma'aseh Bereishis, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So let's explain. In Hilchos Shabbos we have a din, and the din is that if somebody takes out Ochel Pachas Mikishir B'Kli, he's pater even for the Kli, because the Kli is tuffle to the food. In other words, even though the Guf Pulas Hotzah of the Kli is defined B'chol Gidrei Melechas Hotzah of Chilul Shabbos, it's considered Chilul Shabbos out the Kli. Nevertheless, since B'Shas Hotzah Kli, this Pa'ula was secondary subordinate to a second Pa'ula, so that takes the Pa'ula of Hotzah Kli out of the category of Melechas Machsheves, and Memela it's not so Shvitzas Shabbos. So now we're ready for this new light in this matter. This din of Tafel Ve'ikr is not just a din prati in the many, many halachas of Shabbos, but rather this din of Tafel Ve'ikr is the Ikr Mahalach HaPnimi, is the internal process, is the internal nature of Shvitzas Shabbos Bereishis. Because we learned that Vayikadish also of Shabbos is the creation of a new category of reality, which is the essence of Schar Mitzvah. With respect to this Bria, the Bria of other types of Mitzias, other types of reality, other categories of reality, is Tafel Legabe Ikr and Kli Legabe Tochen. It's what's secondary to what's primary, and it's like a vessel to what's the content of the vessel. And from here we see that the Chiddush of Ma'aseh Bereishis every moment isn't Soser Shvitzas Shabbos, because the revelation, the appearance of the essence of Schar Mitzvah lowers the height of the other Suge Mitzias, the other categories of Mitzias, from the Madrega of being important to being just a Kli, being Tafel. And that's what we learn, that every Pa'ula that has a Torah's Tafel, that's only considered secondary, isn't Soser, Mahus HaShvisa, doesn't contradict the essence of resting. That's what the Gemara says, that the emphasis here is that the Shvisa is Mikol Melachto, from all of the work. So this comes to teach us that Shvisa includes the Shvisa also from Chiddush Ma'aseh Bereishis, all Malacha, because the Kiddush of Yom Shvi is Mechadesh, a change in the value and the distinctions between different categories of reality. And from this distinction, we can, and that this distinction enables the Chiddush of Ma'aseh Bereishis every second, even in the very B'itzumo Shel Yom HaShvisa, on the very day of Shabbos itself. So, since Shabbos, the Ikar Mitzias is created, on Shabbos, Schar Mitzvah is created, on Shabbos, the primary spiritual reality of the world was created. So Memela, the Chidush of the Ma'aseh Habriya is only secondary, and that's not considered a malacha. So therefore, Chiddush Ma'aseh Bereishis on Shabbos is not a malacha, and we could say Shabbos Mikol Malachta. There's really no malacha being done on Shabbos, because this halacha that when one takes out a kli with food that's less than kashir is pater, because even though the kli is a shir, but since the kli is secondary to the food, it doesn't have a din of hotzah, and so too the bria, the physical bria, is tafel on Shabbos to the ikr, to the ruchnius, to the schar mitzvah, and memela the chiddush ma'aseh bereishis on Shabbos is not considered a malacha. And we learn from this that Parshas Haman teaches us something very, very deep. That it says that the lack of man on Shabbos tells us, like we saw before, that Hashem gave us Shabbos. Re'u ki Hashem nasan lachem haShabbos. See that God gave you Shabbos. Very interesting. The whole ikar of the man is only to give them mizonos in the midbar. So if he had to show them Shabbos, why does sing Shabbos connected with the giving them of the mizonos? In other words, Hashem gave us during the week, and Shabbos he stopped, and that's Re'u ki nasan lachem haShabbos. Hashem nasan lachem haShabbos. How does that relate? Not giving them mizonos relates to the giving of Shabbos. So you can have that with a lot of things. Hashem gives a lot of things during the week. If he stops giving them on Shabbos, that would also be the seeing of Shabbos. So why dafka with the man? Hashem could have done it with anything. But the answer is exactly what we've been explaining. That the man is called lechem min hashamayim. Hineni mamti lechem min hashamayim. And it's very clear that this name of lechem min hashamayim is coming to preclude this lechem from being in the curse of ze'as hapecha toicha lochem. With the sweat of your brow you'll eat bread. And lechem that's mufka from ze'as hapanim, and it doesn't need the kotzvet darda when it comes to this world. It's the thorns and the thistles. So that's like you show a worker during the days of his avoda an example of the reward which will be paid at the end. The essence of this example is a bechina of a memutza. It's like a middle man between the essence of avoda and the essence of schar. So on one hand it relates to avoda because we're eating this man during the tkufa of avoda, of work, this world. On the other hand, it's also an example of the mahus of schar because it's sort of a shadow and an echo of the tkufa of schar, where there's no more b'ze'as hapecha toicha lochem. And here we have the secret of the stopping of the falling of the man on Shabbos, because we learn from the Gra that Shvisas Shabbos includes also the Shvisa of Chiddush Ma'aseh Bereishis. Not only the Chiddush of the Shabbos Habriya, but the Chiddush of Ma'aseh Habriya. Not only the very creation, but the constant Chiddush of creation, as we explained. And if, nevertheless, we don't find any hefsek in the pulas of Ma'aseh Bereishis on Shabbos, it's only because the reality that was created on Shabbos lowers the value of the pula of Ma'aseh Bereishis from the Madrega of Ikar to the Madrega of Tafel. And Shabbos, all the creation of this world, becomes only secondary, and the Ikar is the Schar, is the Ruchnius. So now, if we can find a Mahus in essence, that its nature is to be a middle ground in between the reality, the type of reality, the category of reality that was created on Shabbos, and the categories of reality that were created during the 6 days. So this cannot work on Shabbos, because since it is shaykh to Shabbos, shaykh to Mitzvahs of Shabbos, you can't say that Shabbos lowers its value, that Shabbos devalues it and makes it into Tafel, because it's shaykh to Shabbos. So, and since it's also shaykh to the week, it's also shaykh to the world of Avoda, this creation, so it has to stop on Shabbos. Now we understand why the man has to stop on Shabbos. The only reason Hashem can continue creating the world on Shabbos is because this world, this physical world, is only tafel to the ikar, to the spiritual world. But the man the avodah of the man, the malacha, bringing down the man, that is not going to be tafel because it's shaykh to the spiritual world as well. It's shaykh to Shabbos, it's shaykh to the world of schar. And since there's an avodah, because also shaykh to yemei avodah, to this world, it must be stopped on Shabbos. Because it can't have the category of tafel. And it's shaykh to this world, so it has to stop on Shabbos. So the bread that grows with the sweat of our brow, that's going to keep going on Shabbos, because that's only tafel. But the man has to stop on Shabbos. Yehi or Yehirakia, that can go on Shabbos. It's only tafel to the Iker. But the man is Iker. Because of its spiritual nature. Because it relates to the schar of ha'asid. It relates to Oneg Shabbos. To the pleasure of the future. It's lechem min hashamayim. It's the spiritual food. So since that relates to the future, you can't call it tafel. Now, it's not that the man was chosen to be a proof that Hashem gave us Shabbos. Mahalach is the opposite. In order to give the Jews mizonos in the Dor Midbar, a Metzias was chosen that according to its essence, it can't be given on Shabbos. It's not that we need a raya for Shabbos, so the month stopped, but no, for the giving of mizonos of the Dor Midbar, a Metzias was chosen that according to its essence, it can't be given on Shabbos. In order to teach us this lesson. The Iker is, it starts with the lesson. Not that there was just this Metzias, and then afterwards it was chosen to be a proof for Shabbos. No. The Chatchila was chosen, the mizonos would be given in such a way that it can't be given on Shabbos. And that's the man, which as we said, has both this world and the next world. Can't be tafel to this world. So now we go back to the Maharal in the Parsha Vayichulu. Rashi explained that Vayikadesh also is that the man didn't fall. The Maharal says that the Ramban is right. Pasuk's not talking about the future. But this means that the fact that the man didn't fall on Shabbos is a raya that Shabbos is holy. And we said, what? Vayikadesh also needs rayas. But the answer is exactly what we've been explaining in this talk, in this shir, that the stopping of the man on Shabbos teaches us about the nature of the Kiddush of Shabbos. That while the Pulos of Shemayim V'aretz exist on Shabbos, the falling of the man stops on Shabbos, and this teaches us the nature of the new Metzias, that it's created because of Kedusha Shabbos. So it's not just merely a raya for Kedusha Shabbos, but it's teaching us about the nature of Kedusha Shabbos. That Kedusha Shabbos is an otherworldly pleasure. And therefore the man, which is otherworldly, can't fall on Shabbos. Because that would be a malacha. Because Shabbos is the day when the Ruchnius is Zikr. And therefore Maisa Bereshit can keep going on because that's tafel. But the man, which is holy, has to stop it, since it's shaykh both to the weekday and to Shabbos. Since it's shaykh to Shabbos, it's not tafel. Since it's shaykh to the weekday, it has to stop. And from this nakuda, we can continue on, and then we explain the hevdel. We can explain the difference between the Yom Simchaschem of Shabbos and the Simcha v'Samachta v'Chagecha of Yom Tov. But before we do that, we have to first go, we have to make a stopover on this flight, and explain the difference between Oneg Shabbos and Simchas Yom Tov. There are two types of hana that the seichel enjoys. Number one, that is the feeling of the chiddush of a certain hasaga. That's one type of hana of the seichel. And another is the pshitus of a hasaga yidua. The hana that's generated by the feeling not of the chiddush of a hasaga, but that it's pashut, this hasaga. It's also hana. One is the rabusa, and one is the pshitus. And usually, these two types of hana are one on top of the other. The first darga is the chiddush. At the moment that the hisbonenus generates the chiddush, and then afterwards starts a deeper mahalach, that this feeling of chiddush turns into feeling of pshitus. This aliyah of the koach hamaskil from the world of chiddush to the world of pshitus stores within it the aliyah of the hana of haskala. Because just like the turning, the transforming of something that's a chiddush, something that's pashut, is an aliyah for the koach hamaskil, that at first you say, wow, that's, never thought of that, that's so novel. And you think about it more, you say, of course, it has to be like that, it's pashut. You see that a lot when you're learning a sugya. First you don't understand, you see this chiddush, you hear a chiddush, you think of it, and you look inside, you say, of course. So that's an aliyah to the koach hamaskil. So too, the hana that a person has when it goes from the world of chiddush to the world of pshitus is also a deepening of the powers of pleasure. Like, oh yeah, of course. Feels good. It's so pashut now. Famous medrash that there was a salesman who went out and said, Man boi chaye, who wants life? And everybody went, yeah, we want life. And then he showed the pasuk of Me'eshach Chafetz Chaim, the Elchonon Ehrman. And on this, the Yehuda cried and he said, Lo yadati ad heichen davar zeh pashut. In other words, until now, it was very clear that this was the case. Me'eshach Chafetz Chaim. You really want to live? It's Elchonon Ehrman. Guard your tongue from speaking evil. But until now, it was a chiddush. Oh wow! If you guard your tongue from speaking evil, you're going to get life. That's a big chiddush. But now, said Rabbi Yehuda, I have this new aliyah. That this, what used to be a chiddush, is now pashut, of course. And this bechiyah is the hana. And now you realize how pashut it was all along. That if you at first don't understand something, and then it becomes a chiddush, it's new, it's like wow, and then it becomes pashut. There's a great hana there. And now it's so simple to you, so self-understood. Now we can come to understand the difference between Oneg and Simcha. The hana of understanding the chiddush of a hasaga is called Simcha. The hana of understanding the pshitus of a hasaga, understanding, comprehending something, that it's simple, that it's self-understood, that's called Oneg. Simcha is the chiddush, Oneg is the pshitus. And now we can understand what the concepts of Simcha Yom Tov and Oneg Shabbos mean. Think about it. Let's say a person tells you about a certain inyan, that it's goinus, it's mamish genius. And in the end he says, and if you don't understand it, you're an idiot. So it doesn't make sense. On one hand, it's absolute genius. And on the other hand, if you don't get it, you're an idiot. Can't be. There's a big abyss between stupidity and genius. And yet, we find this in Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos. First we say, Ma Godlu Ma'asech Hashem, Moed Amku Machshaveisecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're so big, you're so deep. So big and deep. And then we say, Yishbar lo yeda, uchsi lo yaven ezos. If you don't get this, you're a mamish, an idiot. You're stupid. Not you, person. So Adarabba, if it's so simple that if a person doesn't get it, he's stupid, then where's the godless? Where's the amkus? Where's the marabu masech Hashem? Godlu masech Hashem, or the amku mashveisecha. Where's the godless and the amkus here? So if it's so simple that if a person doesn't get it, he's a fool. So we have to understand the nature of the bar and the ksil in Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos. So based on what we said before, there's pshitus and there's pshitus. There's pshitus stamis, where it's pashut because there's no chiddush. That's why it's pashut. There's no chiddush. And then there's the pshitus amuka. There's a deep pshitus because there's such a huge chiddush, and now it became simple to me. So b'vadai nachon, anybody who doesn't understand pshitus is a ksil and a bar. But pshitus u bar shela, pshitus u ksil shela. Each pshitus has their ksil, and each pshitus has their bar. Somebody who's not masik, pshitus has stamis, he's a stam ksil and a stam bar. He's stam an idiot. Somebody doesn't get on something that's simple, so he's stupid. He just doesn't get it. Doesn't chap. So that's one type of bar and ksil, one type of fool. But then there's another type of fool. He understands a certain hasaga only b'taretz rebusa. He only understands what a big chiddush it is, how novel it is, and he doesn't have the madrega of going deeper and getting it to the point where it's pashut. He's also a ksil and a bar, because the klal is, if he doesn't understand the pshitos, he's a ksil. Parallel to the pshitos is the ksilus. In other words, you can have a pshitus where it's really simple, and then a person's really simply a fool. And then you can have a person's a deeper fool, that he doesn't get that it's simple, this deep idea, that he gets the deep idea, but he doesn't get that it's simple. That's also a type of foolishness. And that's what Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos is telling us. The whole mahalach of the B'forach V'Shem Koetzev, V'etzitzu Kol B'lev and Yishamda Madayad, and Tzadik Atamar Yifrach, so that is a mahalach Omoik Godol V'Noira. It's mamish, a very deep, profound mahalach. And there's no shear to the segev and the romamus of this chiddush. But it's understood that kol atzma shel teres harabusa shebedavar, the whole chiddush in this matter is only because we're in the tkufa of avoda. Hayom la'asosam, but in the tkufa of schar, makol lechavos scharam, it's going to be pashut that the Rishayim are going down and that the tzaddikim are going to prosper. And automatically, since Yom HaShabbos is the day of the creation of the Mahusas Schar and the birth of the Neshama Yisera and Meina Olam Haba, so Adarabba, that's the Mizmor and that's the Shir of Yom HaShabbos, the whole Mahalach of Tzadik Atamar Yifrach and Mefrach V'Shem Koetzev, V'etzitzu Kol B'lev and Yishamda Madayad, that goes from the world of Rabusa to the world of Pshitas, of course. In other words, the Iker Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos, that the godless and amkus of maisim machshavas, magodlu ma'asech Hashem, omku machshaveisecha, God's deep, great deeds and deep thoughts are rooted in the soul on Shabbos and come to a place of pshitas to the extent that somebody who doesn't understand it and doesn't know it, ishbar lo yeda uchsi lo yovin ezos, he's on the madrega of a fool. So again, this fool could be a great Baal Hasaga, but for him, the Hasaga, for him, his conception and his comprehension is that it's a chiddush. And on Shabbos, that's the level of a fool. Because on Shabbos it has to come to a world of pshitus. So this is all Oneg in the midah of Shabbos, but we don't find the dogma of this on Yom Tov, because all of the events that are the roots and the sources of Kedushas Yom Tov are only a raya for the future, when the Tzaddik Katamar Yifrach and the Rish Rasha is going to be Porech Kamoisev Lihisham Damadayad. Yitzias Mitzrayim is a raya on the Gula Sida. Matan Torah is a raya, the Torah Shel Mashiach. And the Ananei Kavod are a raya, Al Shomer Yisrael Ad, that God guards us forever. And as long as we are in the world of rayas, we are still in the world of Chiddush, and we haven't gotten to the world of Pshitos, because every Hasaga that is understood b'Torah's Pshitos is precluded from the world, from the domain of Raya and Hochacha. It doesn't require proof. If you're in the world of Pshitos, of course, you don't have to bring a proof for that. And just like what your physical senses are able to perceive, that doesn't require proof, so too, when you're in the world of Pshitos, in the spiritual world of Pshitos, it also doesn't require proof. And that's exactly what I'm saying. The Atzmius of Shabbos is Me'ein Yom Shekulei Shabbos. The Atzmius of Yom Tov is a Raya Yom Shekulei Shabbos. In other words, in the looking glass of Shabbos, the Yom Shekulei Shabbos is B'Torah's Pshitus. That of course it's going to be a beautiful, perfect world. And in the looking glass of Yom Tov, the Yom Shekulei Shabbos is only B'Torah's Rabusa, that it's a Chiddush that in the future we're going to have this beautiful, amazing world. And since we learn that the Hana of understanding a Chiddush is called Simcha, and the Hana of understanding Pshitus is called Oneg, so automatically the fire is lit in our soul to understand the beautiful terms of Oneg Shabbos and Simchas Yom Tov. Oneg Shabbos and Simchas Yom Tov. Oneg is Hana Shebet Hasagas HaPshitus, and Simcha is the Hasag of Chiddush. Yom Tov is the day that you're masik the Chiddush of the beautiful world that will be in the future, Torah Shel Mashiach, Shem Yisrael Ad, etc. And Shabbos is the day that it's Me'ein Yom Shekulo Shabbos, that it's Pashut, that today is a spark of the, is a shadow, is for a revelation of the future worlds. So now, Baruch Hashem, we understand the Oitzim HaYichud shekedushas Yom Tov misachedes hi im Simcha. For kedushas Shabbos misachedes hi im Oneg. So we understand so beautifully, so deeply, so profoundly how Shabbos connects to Oneg and Yom Tov connects to Simcha. However, if we find one chance, one place where Simcha is a kinui, is a nickname for Shabbos of Yom Simchaschem, so it's clear that this kinui of Simcha l'Shabbos is different from the Shem Simcha of Yom Tov. Anybody who the words of Chachamim are sharp in his ears can listen very carefully to the fact that this difference comes out from the very expression B'Yom Simchaschem. In other words, there's no remez here of a tzivui in the signon of V'samachta b'chagecha. It's a commandment, you have to be happy on your holiday. But rather it's a kfiyas uvda. It's an establishment of a fact. It's a day of your happiness. This day is a day where you're happy. Mashal Amad Davidome. Somebody got a nice gift, cost lots and lots of money. He's very, very happy that he got this. He got a picture, very, very beautiful painting. Cost him $1 million. So it could be that the picture is not a picture of Simcha. This painting that he has doesn't necessarily paint a picture of something happy. Could be anything. But he's happy that he has this painting because it's a really, really expensive, nice painting. He's going to be happy about the painting, even though the painting in essence isn't happy. So Shabbos is the Yom Shekula Shabbos. In other words, the Tmuna of Shabbos is the Tmuna of Oneg and not Simcha. It's the Chiddush of Pshitus and not of Ribu, and not of the Rabusa. That it's Pashut that this is the day of Yom Shekula Shabbos, and everything is a perfect world. And we're just happy that we received this picture, that we have this picture of the Yom Shekulo Shabbos. So that's why it's called Yom Simchaschem, not a commandment to be happy. That's the Rabusa of Simcha, that's a Chiddush. No. We just happen to be happy that we have this picture. The picture itself is a picture of Oneg, that we have this Hana Shebetfisis Hapshitus. And we're happy about that, therefore it's called Yom Simchaschem. The Tmuna is a Tmuna of Oneg, and the Kabbalah Tmuna is a Siba for Simcha. That's the Lashon of the Tefillah, Yismachu v'machuzcha Shomer Shabbos. In other words, Shabbos itself isn't in essence a day of Simcha, but those who keep it are going to be happy because they have this picture. It's a day that you're happy, even though the day itself isn't a day of happiness, but you are happy on this day because of what you received. And that's the difference between the Simcha v'samachta b'chagecha and the Simcha v'yom simchaschem elu ha-Shabbos. The Simcha v'samachta b'chagecha unites with a great unity with the atzmius of Kedushas HaChag. The Simcha v'yom simchaschem elu ha-Shabbos is adarabah. The atzmius of Shabbos does not unite, not enmesh with the nature of the Simcha, the content of the Simcha. Simchas HaShabbos, it's not that Shabbos itself is the day of Simcha, but it's a Simcha that you're makabel Shabbos. Simcha is not a shem atzmi for Shabbos. It's not a proper noun. But you are happy on Shabbos, not that Shabbos is a day of happiness. You are happy on Shabbos, a day. It's not, in essence, a day of happiness. That's not the nature of Shabbos. Shabbos, the nature is Oneg. But you are happy that you have this day of Oneg. And from this we can understand that even though, just like we say on Shabbos, Shabbos himilizik u'fu krova lavo, so do we say on Yom Tov, Yom Tov himilizik u'fu krova lavo, but it has different meanings. And Yom Tov, what this means is that the Kedusha of Yom Tov is going to overcome the Machal and it's going to bring a refuah. And on Shabbos, what it means is that the Atzmis of Kedusha Shabbos creates a reality that there's going to be no Machal at all. Yom Tov has to overcome the Machala. And Shabbos is no Machal at all because in the Aspaklari of Shabbos, Yom Shekula Shabbos is B'tfisa Shel Pshitus. And therefore there's no makom, there's no place for Miyud Hachiyas and for Machalas. Whereas on Yom Tov, where it's a Yom Shekula Shabbos, in the world of Rabusa, it's a Chiddush. If it's in the world of Pshitus, there's no room for Machalas. But Yom Shekula Shabbos is the world of Chiddush, so the refuah is also going to be in Chiddush. What's the Chiddush? The Chiddush is that the refuah was Miskaber and the Machala. But if in the world of Pshitus, there's no Machala to start with. There's no room for Machalas. In Musfei Shabbos, there's a Korban Chatas like Kapara. Not on Shabbos. Shabbos there's no room for Michshol. Shabbos is like Pashut. Pashut that things are perfect. Pashut that there's no Machalas. There's no illnesses. But in Yom Tov there is, and Yom Tov overpowers the illness. So now we get back to where we started. We said that this Chiddush of Kinui Shem Simcha l'Shabbos was Mischadish Dafka in the parish of Tkiyas Chatzotzos. Because Tkiyas Chatzotzos and the Moadim, Tkiyas Chatzotzos based Tzara is one mitzvah, like it says in the Minyan on mitzvahs. And on both of them it says, V'noshatem yad tzar tzara eschem. That you're going to be saved from your enemy. And the Bechina of Atzmius of Shabbos, there's no Metzias for Tzar Tzara. What enemies are there on Shabbos? And therefore, it's mentioned in this parsha, not Shabbos, the Bechinas Atzmius, because in the essence of Shabbos there are no Tzar Tzara, but rather Bechinas HaKabbalah. Bechinas HaKabbalah, we say, B'yom Schas, in the day that you are happy. You're going to be happy because you're a Makabel Shabbos. Therefore, it says here, Dafka, V'yom Simchaschem, we can't be talking about the essence of Shabbos in this parasha, because in the essence of Shabbos there's no Tzara Tzara Eschem, no enemies. Rather, what's it talking about? It's talking about, when it alludes here to Shabbos, it alludes to Shabbos not as the essence of Shabbos where there are no room for enemies, but B'yom Simchaschem, Not the essence of Shabbos, but the kinui of Shabbos, the Shem Levai of Shabbos. That on Shabbos you are going to be happy. Then there's room for enemies. When you have to be happy, there could be enemies. But if you're talking about Shabbos be'etzem, there's no room for enemies. Since here we're talking about blowing shofars, blowing trumpets, because of Tzara Tzora Eschem, because of the enemy. We can't be talking about Shabbos in its essence, because then there is no Tzara Tzora Eschem, and therefore we just talk about Shabbos as we receive it. As we receive it as a day that we are happy. B'yom Simchaschem Elu HaShabbos. So this is a mamish, breathtaking mimer, and Shrago Feivel Mendelovitz said about Rafutner that he's one of the 6 greatest minds in the world, on the planet. That's what he said about it. See, Zah Grace a Cup, he brought him in to take over Chaim Berlin, if I'm not mistaken. But you see, Zah Grace a Cup, it's just Ma'od Ma'od Lo Matsui, the Varsha Verilui. And Baruch Hashem, he used that tremendous cup to spread Torah, be a manik, to learn many, many more ma'amarim together. Shalom, shalom, sweetest, most beloved friends.